All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another virtual edition of Pitch Breakfast. Welcome to everyone who has never been to a Pitch Breakfast before, and welcome back to all of our regulars. As you see on the screen, we've got a few quick guidelines before we dive into things. First, go ahead and keep yourself on mute and your camera off for now. We're going to turn all that back on when we get to the networking portion, but for right now, we want the attention to be on the companies presenting and on the panelists. Second, if you have any questions for the presenters or for the panelists, feel free to enter those into the chat. After a company is finished pitching, you can go ahead and they might have a chance to answer that question, or that might give some prompts for the networking portion where you can connect with either the presenters or the panelists then. And third, if for whatever reason you have technical difficulties, are unable to get into Zoom, or you get bumped off or anything like that, this event is being live streamed on both Facebook and YouTube. Even if you are not on either one of those, we highly recommend that you follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to facebook.com/pitchbreakfast and give us a like so that you'll get announcements and information for future events. So thank you all so much for being here, and let's dive in. If you've never been to a Pitch Breakfast before, this is an event that we say it's where entrepreneurs pitch and panelists enrich. We hold these events typically live in 3 different cities, right now virtually, and give an opportunity for entrepreneurs to not just practice their presentation, but also to get expert feedback, and for all of you watching to learn from other businesses how they're pitching, how they're presenting, what lessons they've learned, and the feedback that they're getting from the panelists. So this is really all about education and connectivity, and we really could not do this without everybody involved, pitchers, panelists, and all of you. So thank you for joining us. Before we get into all of the pitches, we are kind of at an interesting inflection point here with Pitch Breakfast. We hadn't planned on doing virtual events prior to the pandemic. And now here we are doing this virtually and trying to figure out sort of what's the best way to move forward when we do go back to live events. Do we do hybrids? Do we focus on virtual? What can we be doing better to improve that? And to that end, we put together a little survey and are asking everybody to take just 4 minutes is what it takes to answer a few questions on this survey after the pitches today. You can find that survey at pitchbreakfast.com/survey. And it's going to ask some questions on what we could be doing better with live events, with virtual events, with networking, with everything that we do at Pitch Breakfast. So we please ask you all to take a few minutes to complete that survey. At the end of the month, we're going to draw one person who has completed the survey and get them a $50 gift card to a local startup service. So it could be a Skill Pop, it could be Skip Town, it could be 2U Laundry, whatever service that you need from one of our local startups. We will get you a $50 gift certificate or a gift card to that service for filling out that survey. So the $50 to support one of our local startups is fantastic, but we could really use your feedback. So please take a minute and fill out that survey. We want to thank a handful of organizations that make Pitch Breakfast possible. And the first of those is our longtime partner, Spengler and Agins. They're attorneys for the Charlotte startup community. Justin Agins, who many of you know, is a great person to sit down and talk to about legal questions, getting started, right, formation, or even if you're trying to get to funding. And a lot of entrepreneurs start by talking to Justin about, how can I form this company around this idea that I have? Usually after you start that formation and you've got some technology, you've got a product, people start to worry about patents, IP, intellectual property, trademarks, things like that. And Ani Agrawal at NK Patent Law is fantastic. That's all they focus on. It's just IP, patents, that sort of thing. And so if you want to get that information protected, definitely talk to NK Patent Law. Now, usually about the time that you've got all of your set up and you've got your IP things figured out, and you're working on technology, or you're trying to find that technical co-founder, a partner to work on tech for you, Dual Boot Partners is probably the best partner that you could talk to in that space. They are a tech company helping lots of local entrepreneurs, lots of local founders and national founders get their MVPs off the ground and get their software and systems built up and where it needs to be to go to market. So talk to Todd or anybody on the team at Dual Boot Partners if you want to learn more about them. Then, of course, you've got your tech product. You start to operate like a real business, and you have things like taxes and bookkeeping. Powderly Vuchnik, our CPAs, they're fantastic, great for accounting, tax advisory, and all of that fun stuff. They've got an office right there in Uptown, or you can just pick up the phone and talk to them. Fantastic people. As your company grows, you start to worry about things like payroll and benefits, risk and compliance. TriNet Solutions has digital solutions for small businesses and large startups and larger companies. So don't try to do all of this yourself. Once you get past 3 employees, you might want to give TriNet a call and see how they can help. And last but not least, as companies sort of start to get out of grow out of their co-working space and they're looking for that brick and mortar place, Foundry Commercial has helped a lot of clients, a lot of startups here in town, find their headquarters, find their offices, and save them money in the process. So definitely talk to somebody from the Foundry team if you are interested in looking at space for now. And we also have a couple legal partners, which means we have a legal disclaimer. And our legal disclaimer is that this event is educational in nature. The companies that are pitching here are practicing and not conducting a securities offering. So none of the companies pitching intend for this to be a general solicitation. When you hear in their pitch, a company ask for, $1 million or whatever, they're not actually pitching you. They are simply practicing their pitch. So that's something that we just want to be clear on. Of course, if you've got $1 million and you want to give it to them, feel free to connect with them one-on-one. All right, so here's what's going to happen today. Each company of the 3 companies that we have are going to have 5 minutes to present their business model. And then we're going to turn it over to our panelists who are going to give feedback and answer questions or ask clarifying questions here for about 10 minutes. So 5-minute pitch, 10 minutes of Q&A and feedback. And on today's panel, so we're going to have our panelists today. So panelists, you can go ahead and turn on your microphones and your cameras. With us today, we have Steve Amedio, who is a long time, I think since the very beginning, panelist. He's the Chief Solution Architect at TKXS. Steve, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, man.
Hey, Steve, can you tell us a little bit more about what TKXS does?
Yeah, we're a agriculture technology company. We primarily focus on custom software development, integration, and data analytics in the what's called the agribusiness sector of agriculture. So those are the large B2B companies who sell products and services to the distribution channel and to large corporate farms across the US and globally.
Awesome. I don't think people realize that there's a big ag tech company like yours here in town.
Yeah, it's a little probably unknown business. It's been around for about 20 years, and it's been a good kept secret, I think. But it's a great little business.
No, that's awesome, Steve. Thanks so much for being with us since the very beginning, 7 years ago. So we really appreciate it. And we go from our longtime panelists to our brand new panelists. We really want to give a very warm welcome to Dr. Shantae Williams for joining the Pitch Breakfast panel. Dr. Shantae, how are you?
I am fantastic. Glad to be here.
Yes, thanks so much for being here today and for being a part of the Pitch Breakfast community. Dr. Shantae Williams is a healthcare venture capitalist, impact investor, keynote speaker, and most recently, author of Black Angels Among Us. How's the book going?
The book is going fantastic. I've got about 65 new people of color that want to be angel investors after reading it. So that's exciting.
That is awesome. Yes. Fantastic. Well, Dr. Shantae, thank you again. And look forward to hearing the feedback that you have for our presenters today.
Absolutely.
All right. And today we have a unique treat. I don't know that this has happened before in the 7 years of Pitch Breakfast. I could be wrong, Laura. But we have 3 female founders, all female founders pitching today. So we have Kimberly Evans with Just Her Rideshare. Then after that, we'll have Madison Sexton with Hem Mills. And then in our third presenter will be Akshita Iyer with Enerve. So we're looking forward to seeing all three presenters today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Kim. Kim, if you want to go ahead and turn your camera on and share your screen, we can go ahead and get started.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And also welcome to the Bumble of the rideshare industry. My name is Kimberly Evans, and I am the founder and CEO of Just Her Rideshare. There is a huge safety issue for women in the rideshare industry. Over the last several years, there have been over 10,000 reported assaults against women within the top rideshare companies, in particular Uber and Lyft, resulting in verbal, physical, sexual abuse, and even murder. In fact, the House just passed Sammy's Law. Samantha Josephson was a student at the University of South Carolina who jumped into what she thought was her Uber vehicle, was kidnapped and brutally murdered. It is one of the things that drives the passion that I have to do what I do. Research does show that most female drivers and riders said that they felt uncomfortable transporting and riding with men that they did not know. And I believe that every woman should be able to choose who they want to transport them. So the solution was simple. Just Her Rideshare, we would create a community of women taking care of women, provide a safe alternative rideshare, employ women drivers for women riders, also give them a safe place to work. Women do make up of less than 25% of all rideshare drivers, but they are the majority riders. Many people depend on ride-sharing services, and there is an untapped market of women who are willing to become drivers but are just too afraid. So we're going to do what these companies have failed to do in many situations, which is an extensive, comprehensive background check to ensure that every driver is vetted. And due to COVID, of course, we're going to take extra precautions to ensure that the driver and the rider are safe. So we do share the market with some heavy hitters. Of course, Uber owns 65% of the market, Lyft 20%. So we see potentially there's a 15% of the market for us to carve out our niche. We do like to compare our company to a company out of Boston called Safer. They did some really great things in their startup as a women only. They acquired 6,000 drivers, was able to do 7 million in sales in the first year. And so they have solidified themselves in the industry, and they continue to maintain a presence there. Our business model will be our drivers and riders peer to peer. Our channels will be our social and digital media, and of course, some data analytics. Our revenue stream will come predominantly through our rideshare usage fees, but we'll also have an opportunity to offer some corporate and individual subscriptions, some business advertising, and of course, we will pivot to deliveries as well. The industry does have staying power, although COVID, last year about 453 million people used the services. It was projected pre-COVID to be about 539, but of course we know that the industry has been hit hard due to social distancing. We do know who our demographic is, that age 25 to 34. We also know the psychographics behind this market, and we believe that post-COVID, the same market will be more apt to take a ride share with one person, one driver versus public transportation with many people due to social distancing. To go to market, we will need our MVP mobile app, we will need our website, our commercial insurance, we will need marketing and brand awareness, and driver acquisition. Our strategy, of course, will be to offer incentives to early signups for drivers. We'll build great partnerships with them to prevent minimal turnover rate, and we'll expand into other markets in about 12 to 24 months or sooner. Based on our 12-month marketing cost, our customer acquisition could run us somewhere between $25 and $50. Our product has moved from design to development. It is intuitive and seamless and user-friendly, so we're excited about the deliverables so far. Our value, we believe, will be women drivers for women riders. We'll have competitive rates for income, and also the extra safety precautions that we're going to implement. So we're in the process of bringing our COO and CMO on. These are positions that we have been able to negotiate sweat equity deals. So we're really excited about the candidates that we have and excited to bring them on board. Our advisory and leadership board is power-packed with business and expertise and industry of legal and technology and logistics. And I'm so honored that they would agree agree to help advise and manage the company into success. So far in second quarter, we were able to raise $25,000. Of course, our milestones will be to start our alpha testing, to continue building our executive team, to focus on some community initiatives, and to focus also on a soft launch around fourth quarter, depending on COVID. We do show a small conservative profit in year one, a little over $600,000. This comes from 188 drivers completing 5 rides per driver per day at an average cost of about $15, with a very slow MGR at about 4%. We're seeking $300,000 for 3.5% equity stake in the company. Of course, the funds will be used for product development, for insurance, for customer acquisition costs, and operational costs. And here's just a little look at what the app looks like to this point. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. We'll do our little virtual applause there and go back to Steve and Dr. Shante for any questions and feedback.
Yeah, so that was good, Kim. Thank you for that. I have several questions as always, but my first question really centers around two things. You gave some quick financials towards the end there at $15 average ride. How did you arrive at that price? And then also, I saw that you said that you had a small profit at the beginning. What a lot of rideshare companies aren't really profitable and haven't been profitable. You know, what's the driving force behind your profitability early on?
So what we did, Dr. Shante, we looked at the amount of Uber drivers in Charlotte, which was about 7,500, and we took a very small percentage of that, being that women only make up of a certain percentage. And so we determined that 188 drivers for us to acquire in the entire year was able to generate that profit for us. Now, of course, it is a small profit, and of course, we will pay to grow our company, so we'll reinvest that back. But that's only with 188 drivers at 5 drivers per ride per day, drivers per day, at an average of $15. And how we got to that was we took Uber's high end and Lyft's low end, and we did an average in between.
Great. Sorry, one other question as it relates to drivers. So I know a lot of drivers are toggling between apps. Are you going to require some exclusivity on your app so that you have more availability for your driver, or the drivers are available and people don't have to wait as long? Or how do you plan to contend with, you know, recruiting drivers that primarily drive for you?
So what we're going to do is, of course, we want to build great partnerships with our drivers, but most of the drivers for rideshare companies do drive for multiple companies. And so what we're going to do is make sure that we can offer competitive rates, competitive opportunities for them so that they will stay with us. And of course, we'll offer incentives to help them become a part of the company so that they feel like that they can actually grow with the company, that they don't have to skip around everywhere. But most of them do drive for multiple companies.
Hey there, Steve.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Steve.
Hey. Good presentation. Dr. Shante, you okay if I sneak in a few things?
Yes.
Okay. I think good content. Just on the technicals of the presentation, a couple notes. One, given the space that you're in, I might like to have had a little bit of, I know it's a short window here, but a little bit more depth on the competition, just because you're up against just, you know, gigantic players in the marketplace. And so giving the potential investor some assurance that there is a place for you to fit in this marketplace, I think is really important. So maybe a little bit more on the competition side. And I think, you know, on the team side, you mentioned a couple of key people that you're bringing in, always, you know, early stage, especially when you're talking $300,000 in raise. Those generally are angels. Angels are pretty emotional and committed to teams and people. So maybe more about those people, why those people, you've been lucky to get them, what's their background, and why are they the right team to help drive the business. So the rest of the presentation I thought was the right content and fantastic. I do have a couple of just kind of business questions. So I think this is an interesting space. I don't know how you protect it over time, because in the software world that I come from, I can imagine that asking for a gender-specific driver is a feature in an Uber or Lyft that could easily be accomplished. And so I'd like to hear you respond a little bit to if you were able to get some momentum, how you defend yourself against the potential of that. And then the other big thing in this space that's interesting to me that I've never quite understood, that maybe you can explain a little bit, is just, I think there's, Dr. Shante mentioned, how are you going to make profit? And there's a lot of pressure in the marketplace. The cost of customer acquisition is so high. I think it makes it difficult to profit. So there's that aspect. But I also think there's kind of this unknown potential cost looming in the labor marketplace based on whether it's municipal or state labor laws, and who determines that these are employees with benefits and not, and what's fair wage. And so I'd like to hear you comment just a little bit on what you believe to be the North Carolina, since that's where you're starting, landscape in terms of labor laws that applies to where things are headed for your drivers.
So both of those are great questions. The challenge that I have with the preventative question, Uber and Lyft have been in the industry for several years as it relates to gender specific. So first of all, it's not their business model, which means it's not a priority for them. They have gained so much of the marketplace that there's no need for real competition in this area, for one. So building a niche market out in this, to say Uber comes on and say, well, hey, we can do this. First of all, it would be admitting that there is a real issue, which there is a real issue in their brand. I don't think they're willing to take that chance. Also, because it would be, I think, detrimental to their brand based on the culture that they've already created behind the sexual assaults and the lawsuits and everything. So I think that they will market that we're going to be safe and do safe, but I don't think that there's any real change in their future. As far as the second point and the laws, one of the biggest parts of what we do is the threat part of our SWOT analysis, of course, which is government regulated things. We have to contend with the gig laws and things like that. And so those are things that are foreseeable future that we cannot control to this point. But I feel confident that our team will be able to sustain those challenges. Of course, we will have to comply with whatever the laws are, but I think that there is a real opportunity for us to gain traction in this area and sustain those challenges as they come.
So just a quick follow on, if I can. So I appreciate that. So I wonder if, and so I'd just like to hear you maybe wonder out loud with me. I wonder if the labor marketplace does present an unusual cost over time that impacts gross margin, given the customer base that you want to serve and the reasons for which you want to serve them. Is there a premium in your pricing potentially? Do you believe that maybe some of those costs could be offset because people will pay more for your service?
I do. I absolutely do. Just based on the polls, we polled about 100 women, just had some comfortable conversation about the industry, what they thought about it, how they felt about the industry as a whole. 9 out of 10 women told us not only the safety issue, but the fact that they would be willing to pay for the convenience of comfort and having that. So we do see that there is a premium that we can add. We also are building a network of community of women. And so there are other opportunities for us to launch out and offset some of those challenges through delivery, through partnering with communities as it relates to Safe Alliance and domestic violence and all of these organizations that we feel will be able to generate income for the company. We also are working on a potential IP for our second phase of design, which would also be very lucrative for the company if we could get that implemented. And so we've got some really great ideas, but your questions are absolutely legitimate, and we will be prepared to sustain those challenges as they come.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just one other question. Steve, rightfully so, I act as an angel and private investor all the time, so I do like to hear people's stories. And you told us about Sammy's Law, but what pulled you into this industry, into the field, into, were you a driver, or did you feel unsafe, or how did you get into this passion, this project?
So actually, that's a great question, Dr. Shante, and it's a part of something that I share with other women. It's my story, my journey. I was actually introduced to this by a former business partner. The idea, because of my big business acumen and background, I was able to take the company and to grow the company. And at a certain portion, she decided that she didn't want to move forward. But once I started, I saw such great vision in it, not only as profit, but also as mission, because I am a social entrepreneur. And so I saw an opportunity to continue going. And after, through much prayer and counsel and legal, I got the green light to go ahead and push forward. This was in my wheelhouse as a business owner. This was an area that I was eager to learn and grow. And I did a year of research and brought in people who could counsel and share the industry with me. But that's how this was birthed.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we've got the big stop sign from Laura there, so I think we're good on time. Thank you, Kim, so much. If you check out the chat, there were a couple questions that came in there that you may want to get a chance to answer, or get to that when it gets time to networking. So thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
Awesome. Before we get Madison started, she's going to pull up her slides, but real quick, Laura has a quick announcement here from the SBTDC.
There we go. So you have the slide up real quick. So basically, yeah, I'm sitting in for Mike Rugel at SBTDC, and he wanted me just to mention applications are open for the program. It's next level training. It's actually, they got a grant through the city of Charlotte, and so tuition is waived, and it's 10-week program. But basically, it's focusing on post-COVID, getting you set up, helping you scale, and giving you mentorship, subject matter experts, different things that you may need to actually reset and go forward. So applications are currently open now. Deadline is next Wednesday, the 19th. Everything's on here for the link, and any questions, and feel free to email me or let me know if you have any questions, and I can put you in touch with Mike. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. And the deadline for that program is next Wednesday. We'll drop the link in the chat if you're interested and want to learn more. Cool. With that, Madison, if you want to get your slides up, we'll go ahead and get started with Hemp Mills, Hemp Emo Manufacturing. Hemp Eco Manufacturing.
Sorry, it says the screen sharing is disabled. If you possibly want to pull up my slides, Laura.
Oh, yeah.
No, he can do that right now. He can do that for you. I think he forgot to give you the.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me just 1 second.
Well, nice to meet everybody. We're excited to share our presentation.
All right, you should be good now, Madison.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Oh, 1 second, I apologize. Okay, let's go ahead and press play. Oh. Let me just.
We didn't just wake up one day with this idea to innovate crazy, complex.
Oh, we can just start this.
Yeah, you're good. And we won't start the timer until you.
Yeah, we haven't started. I am the timer person, but I have not started. If you want to just hit present at the top right there.
The raw materials.
There we go. Okay. Sounds like there's
All right.
a video on in the background.
They want small businesses.
Is there a video on in the background? Oh no.
Develop their own product lines. It's feasible.
Yes.
No, there's not a video on. We just hear audio.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just start this one more time. Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Madison Sexton. I'm the CEO of Hemp Mills. Hemp Mills is the first hemp weaving and knitting facility in America. On the screen right now, you can see a small snapshot of just part of our factory. This is where some weaving and knitting goes on. And on the right, you can see a comparison of hemp versus cotton, where it shows a myriad of differences. My background's in genetic modification of plants. Started off in Monsanto in Hawaii in 2000, when I was about 19 years old. One of the things I'm super passionate about with hemp is that you need no pesticides to grow hemp. Cotton's actually responsible for 45% of the global pesticide use, and 70% of the total insecticide use. The other benefits that we're super passionate about is 3 times more production per acre. It's 4 times warmer, 4 times water absorbent, which is great for all of our baby care clients, and as well as 3 times stronger. But our internal testing shows sometimes our tensile strength even 8 times stronger. So the main problem is that there's no hemp yarn spinning facility in America. Hemp yarn is actually one of the 11 exemptions on the Berry Amendment for the United States. The main issue we have internally is that our main cost when we're doing yarn textiles for weaving and knitting actually comes from shipping in the yarn from China and Romania. There's multiple reasons why hemp yarn hasn't been established in America yet, but we're in the perfect position right now with all the industrial hemp fiber to actually set up the first American hemp fiber spinning facility. So right now, our solution is farm to fabric. Right now, it's a perfect time because the industrial hemp has set up the first 3 arms of the supply chain with the farmers growing the correct strains of already for the correct hemp. They're growing it right now for building materials. It's about a 14-foot long strain with about a 4-millimeter diameter, and it's the perfect strain for us to eventually spin it into hemp yarn to go into our textiles that we're already doing currently. Domestically, every state that's using hemp already has a decorticator set up, and then they're shipping it to the processing facilities. These 3 supply chains are already set up, and that'll go straight into our yarn spinning facility. The market projections, this is about a $42.8 billion industry as far as textiles in America. The yarn and fiber industry alone is about a $750 million industry. We look to have 5% of that market share by Q4 of 2024. These are, as far as our competitors are investing in yarn, but hemp yarn spinning takes water, and they're not set up for the water recycling for yarn spinning. They don't have the experience that we have on our team for actually doing the hemp yarn in-house. Right now, so the revenue on the top right, the flexible made-to-order manufacturing, that's our current revenue based off of some COVID stuff we're doing, as well as our knits, hemp wovens, and other things like that, as well as some non-wovens we're kind of getting into. All of our equipment we bring in is refurbished. The refurbishing vast fiber spinning equipment costs $2.3 million. And that production is about 70,000 kilograms of yarn production per day, with projected revenue on the bottom of, we plan to reach 5% of the market by 2025, which will be $350 million. My team is made up of the absolute elite of the knitting and spinning world. Emmett Hilton comes out of Cotton Incorporated. Cotton Incorporated is a completely vertical supply chain for cotton. He's super passionate about yarn spinning, yarn combing. He's a world-class knitter. Jeff Carpenter has set up cut and sew facilities, product development for Moby and Bobo, which are some of our clients, and our CFO consists of Christopher Forbalides. My personal background is I come from a research background of Monsanto. I've been involved in Silicon Valley startups such as Volta, Flex Design Co., and I had multiple beacon app development companies while I lived in Hawaii. We're asking for $3.3 million. Most of that will be in secured assets for the machinery equipment that we're looking to set up. So here's kind of the production facility we're looking to establish. We're really excited. The main reason why our competitors again haven't done this is because people get a little bit afraid of hemp because of the intense water usage. With our use of water recycling, back from my agricultural background, we're able to take the fiber bales that are already compressed and already being made by fibers. We put them through a blender and an opener, and the water recycling will be patented, but we put them through a blender and opener, and we really soften this in order to achieve the hemp textiles. Currently, we're already working and kind of spinning some hemp yarn in-house, such as with hemp with wool to make this sock. We do a lot of knits in-house, and yeah, that's kind of what we're looking to do. Let me go back to this slide. A little bit more about Emmett. Emmett came on board because he came from the synthetic industry and the cotton industry, and there's a lot of fraud that happens in textiles. He's super, super passionate about bringing this yarn facility on board. We already kind of know where we're going to do it in Haw River. We have our team standing by, and we're really excited with the timing of this industry and the already supply chain that's set up. I'm part of multiple hemp associations. We've done a lot of research with NC State, HIA, and North Carolina Industrial Hemp, and now's the time for the textile revolution.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Madison. Yeah, if we can get Dr. Shante and Steve, go ahead and turn your cameras back on. Oops.
I think we have my CFO, Chris, too, on the computer if you guys have any questions.
Dr. Shante, you want to go first?
Yes, it says the host to stop my video, but
Yeah, sorry, I turned it back
thank you,
on.
host.
Too many buttons.
I got you. So 5 minutes goes by quickly, right?
Yes.
So just a couple of pointers of feedback. I do some manufacturing investing, and make sure that you're streamlining your story, because manufacturing is super exciting and makes a lot of money, but it's much easier if we go, simple product, production, and outcome, especially with manufacturing, because it can get pretty granular really quickly. So I'm going to kind of back up and ask you some questions to make sure I understand exactly what it is that you're looking to do. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the business that you have started already uses hemp yarn, is that correct?
No, we're hemp weaving and knitting. That's currently what we've been doing for the past year and a half.
Okay, so
Finished
when you
textile.
tell me what that means.
Okay, so that means we import the hemp yarn from Romania and China, and we weave it and knit it into hemp fabrics. So that's jersey knit, woven for the upholstery industry, jersey knit for the t-shirt industry. We do webbing for the dog collar and dog leash industry, a myriad of product lines. Yeah.
Okay, so I completely missed that part of it. So you're an existing business that already does something, and you're looking to change maybe your supply chain by investing in your own facility.
Correct. Yeah. So currently,
Okay.
we've already done a seed round about a year and a half ago. We raised about $250,000. We're already profitable off of that. Now we're in our Series A, looking to take control of the supply chain. And why we haven't done it before, Dr. Shante, just because the processing facilities weren't set up with the hemp farmers, but now is the perfect time that the funding from the government's gone into the processing facilities.
Gotcha. So in the existing business, so I think that might be important to capture that you already know, you already know how to turn it into material, one, two, that you're already selling it, and what those sales look like, month over month, or, to show that traction, and then showing the impact of your supply chain changes, and owning the facility and how that would impact what you're able to do, and maybe the price point, maybe the customers, all of that. I think I remember you saying something about it, but if we could, I would spend a little more time there, because I completely missed that part.
Okay. Yes. I also talk fast. Thank you, Dr. Shante.
No worries. I have the same affliction, if you will. So okay, I got you now. So who's currently also making hemp fabrics, or or who are your actual direct competitors in this space, other than that are US based, I should ask?
So we are the only hemp weaving and knitting mill in America right now. Our direct competitor
Okay.
is a few of the distributors, but they are actually importing fraudulent hemp fabric. Part of our sales strategy, I hate calling it strategy because we break business owners' hearts, but they've been importing what they think is hemp fabric. We send it off to the lab. It comes back as cotton and rayon. So the hemp fabric being imported out of China really is not hemp fabric. So right now,
Wow.
we do have the market on hemp wovens, and it's we're the only factory in America.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's a huge deal. And then one other question, where would you be locating this facility? Have you kind of decided on where it would go? And then as far as working with maybe local government for economic impact or creating jobs, have you started those discussions?
Yes, we have. So we have talked to economic development a lot on this. There are grants too that we can do to make this happen. But the first mini facility will create about 42 jobs. It's going to be located in Haw River. That's because where Emmett is, where my past Cotton Incorporated team is, and it's positioned by all the hemp decorticators and processors within about 2 hours. So it can all just flow into that facility via truck.
Gotcha.
And then
Perfect.
we're looking to move to the West Coast after we kind of do a sample in North Carolina.
Gotcha. Yeah. Steve?
Great, thank you, Dr. Shante. So couple comments about the presentation. I think that, I agree with Dr. Shante that information in this space can get very technical very quickly. So maybe there's a way to, just get that to be a bit more informative about the business and the business opportunity and that kind of thing. I do agree that two things that were a little understated. One is the, kind of competitive advantage that you would have by vertically integrating, especially given that you're the only people that are going to be equipped to do this, at least in the near term. I would be curious if that's protectable in any way through exclusivity with your customers, through guaranteed production. And so the other part that I think I'd like to hear more about is whenever you have a going entity or a going business that's already successful, understanding a little bit more about the intersection of where you are now and why, like Dr. Shante indicated, is critical. Like, how does this change pricing, gross margin? How does it change supply when you vertically integrate? And what are the benefits of that to your existing customers? And does that help you grow the business with them? Meaning, can you secure, or have they, given you verbal or other commitments if you can produce to, expand the business with you? The second part is just on the capital side. When you have a profitable going entity like this and you're raising $3.3 million for something like manufacturing, I'm curious whether or not you really are raising an equity around, or are you really looking at somebody to provide mostly debt that would be, backed by the equipment purchases? I don't know, if it's mostly for manufacturing equipment, then it seems to me like something that would be highly debt financeable, given the fact that you are, currently a profitable business with customers. So I'd be maybe a little bit curious about, breaking down the 3.3. Is it all equity? Is it equity plus debt? And a little more specific on the use of proceeds and your ability to collateralize that with the equipment purchases. That's a technical I know a bit of a technical finance thing, but I think it would be interesting because in this marketplace in particular, a lot of early stage money, a lot of people have developed, I think, a little bit more interest than has typically been in syndicating debt in the angel community. So where typically a bunch of people would pass the hat and you generate, $500,000 or $1 million in equity, you can get larger sums of money on debt because it's everybody's a little conservative right now with capital, given everything that's going on in the market. So anyways, just a thought. On the business itself, I have a couple of questions. You used an interesting term. I think a lot of people have used it in the agri-food space. This farm to fabric, I think was the term you used, which makes perfect sense. I understand that. I'm curious where currently the majority of your raw materials would come from, and are you actually having to put contracts on acres in order to have the supply that you need to be able to spin the yarn? And pricing in this space, commodities are in a pretty crazy space right now. And I know I haven't looked specifically at hemp, but I know in the agriculture business that I've been involved in, there's been an awful lot of acres that have turned over away from cotton because of the cost, the technical nature, and the equipment associated with the harvest on cotton and where pricing is. And so I'm curious where your acres are going to come from, and if you're going to have to, contract those to be able to secure supply.
Yeah, so we are working with farmers across the domestic United States. We do about 4 acre plots right now, both in California and in North Carolina, with farmers with the NCSU extension program, and they actually are already growing the acreage. I think there's over like 50,000 yards North Carolina alone for this hemp strain that we need, and this has been in the process for like the last 9 months with like some development from Patagonia, NCSU, and some other extension programs we're involved with to get this fiber to the spinnable process.
Okay, so there it is a specific strain genetically, and you believe there's going to be enough people that are willing to grow it because the pricing's there. That would just be my biggest concern.
Yeah, 100%. And there's an excess in the current hemp that we're very in touch with farmers. I talk to farmers like a small portion of my day, but yeah, this fiber is already being grown for building materials and hemp oil. And we'll be taking the excess because it's just being held up in barns and warehouses right now.
Yeah, that was a follow-on question I had, is it whether or not the genetic strains that are generally associated with oil extraction are, if the byproduct of that is what you could use. I only say that because I know a lot of people are sitting on those inventories because of where prices came from, but I also think a lot of them don't necessarily, they'll sell to a revenue share with an extraction, facility, but the raw materials themselves sometimes are even discarded or not sold. And so I was curious if that particular strain was going to be viable for you guys as raw material.
That particular strain can be decorticated out, and if you wet the fiber, and it can be used in animal bedding and things like that. But the hemp fiber will be used as the hemp fiber that's being specifically grown for hempcrete and things like that. That's already been grown for industrial hemp use, not the CBD oil per se.
Okay, great. It's good. It's an interesting business. I think that maybe the only other comment I would say is that North Carolina has such a rich textile history. I think it's pretty exciting to see companies like yours trying to kind of tap into that heritage. And I wonder if that isn't somehow part of the story is the intellectual property and the professional expertise that exists in the Carolinas. I would hope would give you a nice head start on this if it hasn't already. But
Yeah, moved from the West Coast 2 years ago to start the mill because of the textile industry. So right on point. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Madison. Great job. And thank you, panelists. We're now moving on to our third and final presentation for the day. And I'd like to welcome Akshita Iyer from Enerve. Akshita's coming to us from Raleigh, right? You're in Raleigh?
Yep, Durham,
yes.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't confuse those two. You're from,
yeah,
from
please
Durham.
Durham.
Yeah, welcome, and we look forward to seeing your presentation. If you want to go ahead and get your slides ready, and while you're doing that, yes, I have to make you a host real quick. And while you're getting your slides ready, we do have one more announcement here from Laura for Venture Prize. So Laura, take it away.
Thank you. I just wanted to announce, I actually have seen plenty of our alumni log in today, so always great to see everybody. But Venture Prize launch will be starting the fall cohort September 2nd, and applications are now open, and I am now putting in the application link, and you can also find it at entrepreneurship.uncc.edu. But real quick, what we do, 6-week customer discovery course. We have you really focus in on your target market, looking at your value props and really defining that message, and sort of a boot camp for that foundation. So feel free to reach out with me with any questions, but look forward to seeing some of you apply as well. So thanks.
And if you guys have attended our live events, you'll know that I say this over and over again. The number one mistake that founders make is not enough customer discovery. Here is a program that teaches you how to do customer discovery. I would say forces you to do the proper customer discovery. I highly recommend that any entrepreneur that is figuring out their product, their service, or even if you've got some traction and you want to refine it, to go ahead and sign up for the customer discovery program at Venture Prize. It's fantastic.
And it is virtual as well. So
yeah, virtual. Awesome. So yeah, we'll drop that in the chat. And with that, looks like Akshita, you've got your slides up ready to go. So whenever you're ready, take it away.
Awesome. Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Akshita. I'm the founder and CEO of Enerve, where our mission is ultimately to save you time in the kitchen by using smart technology to bring safety and automation to cooking. So we already have hundreds of smart devices in the home, but the kitchen lags behind, largely because appliances last for decades, and appliance manufacturers, the ones in charge of innovation in the kitchen, are not that great at technology. And if you look at the smart appliances that they have released, they're way too expensive for the average consumer and don't really provide enough value to justify the cost. Now, this all really came to light when a few years ago, my mom was cooking in my house, got distracted like many of us do, walked out and started a kitchen fire. At the time, I just wanted to find a solution to make sure that my parents were safe while cooking. They're getting older, but then realized that unattended cooking is actually a huge problem. So it's the #1 cause of house fires, leads to over $1 billion in damage every year. And at the time, as I looked around the home, I started to see all of these really simple devices pop up, like thermostats and doorbells and door locks. And the common theme was how intuitive they all were to use and how easily they fit and retrofitted with your existing home. So I thought, why can't we bring that approach to the kitchen and bring, simple products that can work with your existing appliances that not only bring you peace of mind, but actually open opportunity for automation that creates a new way of cooking that's better, easier, and faster. And so we created the first connected device, which you can see here, which basically replaces the knobs on any gas or electric stove, turning it into a smart appliance in just minutes. So these are Wi-Fi connected with built-in motors, so they can automatically adjust temperature based on different scenarios. So for example, if you do leave the stove on, we can actually detect that, automatically turn it off. But then you can also remotely monitor. So if you leave the house, you have a moment of panic, just like you check your security camera, you can check our app to make sure that your stove is off. As we researched our customer base, we really started to, realize that one, home automation is on the rise, and people are actively searching for ways to make cooking less cumbersome. So, the number one Alexa skill used in the entire home is a cooking timer. And, of course, there's the rise of meal kit and grocery delivery. And so this really got us thinking bigger as to how we can use this product as a wedge into the kitchen, and allow us to ultimately build an ecosystem of products that can automate cooking and also leverage data to save you time. So what that means is additional sensors that can give us precise information about what you're cooking, so we can react in real time, like a temperature probe or a camera. And importantly, we now have access to data that none of the major players have. So, who's cooking, how often, the time of day, what recipes they're using, all of which we can actually use to take the guesswork out of planning, and provide inspiration based on your cooking history. So the market is huge. I mean, there are 145 million stoves installed in the US alone. So that gives us a total market opportunity of $22 billion. But even our initial market of the 25 million households with, adults with kids under 18 at home gives us a $5 billion opportunity. We make money in two ways. So first, we sell our hardware, which initially we're focused on our direct-to-consumer channels, but ultimately we'll scale through channel partners like apartment and retirement communities, insurance providers, and appliance manufacturers. Our integrated software also allows us to generate recurring revenue through monitoring, content, and licensing. To date, we have over $1.3 million in pre-orders, so that's now close to 8,000 people on our wait list. We also have pilots with major partners like Bosch, large apartment complexes and senior living communities across the country. We have issued IP, and we graduated from Techstars last year. We also were on Shark Tank, in case you watched the show. And we've really come this far because of an amazing team with backgrounds ranging from consumer behavior and IoT development, specifically in the home, to mass manufacturing and AI. And we're now actually in the middle of a $2 million raise that will allow us to scale production, reach 50,000 customers by the end of 2021, expand our software capabilities, file additional IP, and expand our team. So the connected home is exploding, and companies like Nest and Ring really prove the value of reimagining items we use every day in our homes. We're here to finally reimagine the kitchen and forever transform the way we cook at home. Hope you'll join us on that journey. Thank you.
Awesome, Akshita. Thank you so much. I love the casual Shark Tank reference. Oh, by the way, we were on Shark Tank too. Yeah, no, that was awesome. Thank you. Dr. Shante, Steve, do you want to join us? And yeah, feel free to dive in.
So very good presentation. I was hoping you were going to say you invented Rosie from the Jetsons, and then I don't have to cook anymore.
We're getting there.
So that's the next level. That's what I'm holding out for. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Really interesting. So I see that you've got some good pre-order traction. What's the gap between you filling those orders, and how far out are you from really converting those customers into paying customers and moving forward?
We're about 6 weeks out. What our biggest kind of rate limiting step is scaling manufacturing. So right now we're hand assembling everything, which is just not effective, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. And so all of our tooling, our molds, our plastics, our motors are done. The only thing left to actually build is our electronics line, which we're actually doing down in Florida. We've got a contract manufacturer, but we need the capital to be able to kind of invest in that. And then getting that up and running is 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll be shipping within like 60 days of this investment at the most.
That's awesome. That was the only question I actually had, Steve.
Yeah, I would say great presentation, good structure, good flow. I always like to see a little bit, maybe more detail on just the use of the proceeds. $2 million. Here's exactly what it's going to go to, and the timing associated with that. Good, thank you. And in particular, the sales and marketing is kind of interesting to me. If you've ever, for those people that have logged on, they hear me say this like every time I'm a panelist, so I'll apologize ahead of time. But with what appears to be a fantastic product and a great story, and I wonder why the route to market would even involve the consumer. If you have IP that can be protected, it seems to me to be a B2B channel business all the way. License the IP, develop partnerships with the Bosches of the world like you are. Direct to consumer stuff is just so expensive on the sales and marketing side. And so I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about whether or not that's really a long-term play, or if that was just kind of, a lot of people use it as the kind of pre-commerce play to develop sales and get some awareness, but do you really see yourself as a consumer company going forward?
Sure. So I see us as a consumer company on the software side and a B2B company on the hardware side eventually. The reason why I'm not putting all my eggs in the B2B basket is because appliance manufacturers are notoriously slow. And they're just not good at innovation, and I do not want to get lost in what they do. And so, if you look at some of the companies that have focused on solely working with appliance manufacturers, they're not growing because they're reliant on appliance manufacturers actually selling connected appliances. So you've got a bunch of smart recipe companies, a bunch of software companies in it, drop that work with appliance manufacturers, and they're growing really slowly. And so our goal is to first use this next year. We're seeing good traction on the direct to consumer side. If we can keep that cost low, to build a strong customer base while we build those partnerships, which will just ultimately add value to those partnerships. And also ultimately, I want to own I don't want to be reliant on the appliance manufacturer. And with this, I can own the entire consumer journey. I can own the data, I can own the content, I can own the experiences. And that is what an appliance manufacturer will ultimately pay for, and what they'll ultimately partner with us for. And then at that point, we can license it. You take care of the hardware, we'll take care of the software.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that would be interesting woven into, in a very light way, woven into the deck as well too. Sure. Another follow-on question. I always would like to know, especially in spaces like this where there's big competition from major players, slow as they may be, as you indicated. Sure. How defensible do you feel like the IP is? I'm not familiar with this part of the device space, and so I don't know, if you feel like you've really got strong protection there.
So, IP only it takes you so far. Our goal is that, we file what we have a patent already on the device itself. We file additional IP that covers, both the hardware and the software. Build a robust patent portfolio that, in terms of competitors, the system is defensible because we're combining hardware with experiences, which again, appliance manufacturers will they will not be able to compete with. The kind of defensibility though is really around kind of first to market and then building that consumer experience. Again, appliance manufacturers are slow. So even if they could do this today, they could just run over us in terms of the IP and it wouldn't matter. But I know that it'll take them at least a decade before they can actually penetrate the market by building a new appliance. And so our goal is in the next 5 years, people are not buying new appliances, and we can reach 1 million customers, build that value, integrate with them, and then go from there. So the defensibility is really just, around the system itself and what we're building on top of it.
Yeah. Last little bit, excellent answers, by the way. You got great command of the content. I know you kind of mentioned that part of the target market was going to be multi-tenant. That seems to make perfect sense to me. Lots of installations with a single customer, and I think apartment complexes, nursing home, places like this seem to be an absolutely fantastic target. So I was excited to hear you say that. I think it'd be a great part of the sales and marketing strategy. The question I have is, unlike I'm a nerd software guy, so I got all sorts of stuff that half works around my house, equipment and such. Mm-hmm. In this class of device, I'm just curious, when you're dealing with something as critical as, for instance, guaranteeing that you have an auto off on a stove, where does this live in the context of liability and risk that you guys undertake by enabling this kind of a home device?
Yeah. So, I guess one thing is, we do or will have liability insurance, and the cost is actually really low for a couple of reasons. One is you cannot remotely turn this on. You have to first kind of push in, if you cook often, you got to push in, turn it on, then you can use the remote features and the cooking features. And secondly, we have built in multiple layers of safety to ensure that if something goes wrong, if your Wi-Fi goes out, if the motor fails for whatever reason, that either you are notified, caregivers notified, somebody's notified. So for example, this is constantly pinging to our backend, right? That's how you see kind of where the position is on the app. But if this, for some reason, it's indicated or to go to low and it doesn't, our backend knows that because there's a position sensor in here that actually knows the exact position at all times. So then if for some reason it doesn't reach there, we ping you, or we ping, like we're actually working with fire departments. We can ping, the right people to make sure that, we're covered in terms of, something dangerous happening. If your Wi-Fi goes out, as soon as this loses connection to your Wi-Fi, it automatically shuts off. Obviously you won't get that notification, but your stove is off. So we built in those layers of safety to really make sure that from a liability perspective, we're limiting and mitigating any risks there. So yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have. Great, again, great presentation, great command of the content. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a minute or so, and a couple questions came in through the chat. So unless Dr. Shante, you've got any other questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just curious as to what the feedback was maybe from Shark Tank, and did you get an offer? Just curious as to they do this kind of consumer market, product placement kind of a thing. And then I missed the slide on the price point. So if you can take me back there.
Yeah, sure. So Shark Tank, we did get an offer from Robert. There's obviously a lot that goes into the conversation. We were in the tank for like almost 2 hours, and it just wasn't a right fit in terms of the vision. Like, he thought this could be a quick sell, like, build some customers, don't raise any more capital, and then sell it to an appliance manufacturer. And that's not what we're trying to do. So we kind of, didn't line there. In terms of the feedback, people like Lori, the the consumer people loved it. But when we were on Shark Tank, we had just finished our first prototype. So we were not in a position where we were ready to ship. And for her, if you watch the show, like she says, I love this, but I don't see like something that's ready to go right now. And so unfortunately, and we knew that going into it, that ideally when you go on Shark Tank, you have product like Ring, like Jamie Siminoff, like he was able to capitalize on all of that visibility, but we didn't want to take that chance. And so we're like, once in a lifetime opportunity, let's just do it. But the great thing was that we got thousands of emails from potential customers telling us exactly why they want to use this. We had a bunch of different features before, and we really cut that down. It's so easy to over-engineer, and we were able to get that feedback without paying for it. And so I think that was the biggest value for us. And then there are, some people like Mark who thought that nobody's going to be cooking ever in the future, and like delivery is going to take over. And so, I mean, they're those people, but we did get an offer, just didn't take it. And usually Shark Tank offers aren't that great anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just really curious if they bid at all. And then I see you're charging per knob. So do I understand that correctly in saying a stove for whatever the burner stove or whatever it's called would cost $300 essentially?
Correct. So we do this as a kit because we found from our consumer base that people only use maybe 1 or 2 knobs the most. So, they just buy 1 or 2, and we want to initially just lower that threshold as much as possible to get the maximum number of devices out. If you do want to, install for your full stove, then yes, it would be an average of $300 depending on how many burners that you have. As we go towards the partnership side, where you as an individual aren't necessarily paying yourself, then we just do this as a full kit. So at some point we're doing 4 to 8 knobs through partners, and none of this kind of like 1, 2, 4 stuff. So.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, Laura, I saw the stop, and I just have one more question, I promise. Why recipe guidance? I see a lot of this, and are people really using that? Is that worth me paying an extra $3 a month?
So people have not done it right. So I think you either have the smart ovens, sous vide devices that give you recipes, but they haven't seen the growth and the conversion, because one, they don't have enough devices and enough product out in the market for that data to matter. So what we're trying to do is actually get enough devices out where we can start to understand what cooking behavior is like. We build, say, 100 recipes that are commonly used. We give that for free. Let's understand what people are cooking every day. Use that to then build more recipes and content based on history that you're not just looking at, but that can actually be sent to your appliance. So like I said, you have these people who are building new appliances, which are just not going anywhere. And then you have these people who are building smart recipes, but that have to work with an appliance that you have to buy, and you're paying for just looking at the recipes. So we don't want to charge for that. We actually want to charge for value. So like you said, at some point, like the Jetsons, can you just select that recipe, put what you need to on the pan, walk away, and then we'll take care of the rest. And I think that is something like a personal chef that people will pay, an extra $3 a month for.
Awesome. You're such a pro. Good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks so much, Dr. Shantae. Akshita, thank you so much for that pitch. That was fantastic. There are a couple other questions in the group chat. If you want to check those out here while we switch over and wrap things up and switch into networking. Thanks so much to our 3 female founders for pitching today. We are going to, yes, thank you. Great presentations. This is a great learning opportunity for a lot of the entrepreneurs that are on the call. So up next, we're going to split everybody up into breakout rooms. Here's how our breakout rooms work. We're going to create one breakout room for each of the companies that presented today, and we'll have one general breakout room. If you are interested in asking a follow-up question or anything like that to one of the founders that you met, you just want to be in that breakout room. To make this easy, we automatically put everybody into random breakout rooms. But if you want to go to a different breakout room, all you have to do is leave your room, go back in the lobby, and I'll put you in the room you want. It just takes too long to get everybody to tell me what room that they're in. So we start off automatic, then you let me know if you want to move to a different breakout room, and we'll shift people around there. And so while you're thinking about which room you want to be in, we do want to remind everybody that we are doing this survey. So that survey is